aggressive, they're more adaptable, and they have more energy. So they were exactly the right horses that you could go with. Of course, I asked the speaker yesterday something about the irony that he, the greatest of emperors, goes out to conquer the world. And when we read his story, just 10 verses later or 20 verses later, what can he not conquer? What can he not conquer? Not what can he not conquer is a rhetorical question. And yet, it says he couldn't control his response to his thirst and hunger and agitation. So it's very interesting. So we should read it. It's not that we find fault with Pritchett, but we analyze it. If we don't analyze it, we're missing the whole point. Here is this greatest of emperor who conquers the whole cosmological world, so to say, and can even conquer himself when he's thirsty and somebody doesn't say, hey, can you give me a drink of water? And somebody's sitting in samadhi and he gets so angry, he put a snake around his neck with a stick that he carried. He didn't beat him to death. But you can see by Rishi Shringi got very upset and cursed him. He said, what are you doing? No, of course he didn't. He didn't control either. So it's a very, the kahani, the narrative is very interesting. And it shows exactly the entrance into Kali Yuga, where one person reacts, i.e. Pritchett, and where Rishi reacts rather than acts. His father would have been acting, but he reacts like a typical teenager. So this first time, I made a few notes, and especially on anything in particular, but how we look at this verse and understand what Prabhupada is saying in the purport about that he presented a certain symbol of civilization and how that symbol is also aesthetically pleasing. So that's quite interesting, because sometimes I make a little joke, I shouldn't say about Indians, quote unquote, but like let's say the Western people's response to art, and say the typical Indian people's response to art is opposite. It's completely opposite. Like the West is so inundated, they know who is Picasso, they know Rembrandt, they know who is who, in school you learn some of these things. But in India, per se, people not really say, who's your greatest painter? You say, not sure, you have to look at the iPhone, look it up. You see? And I was saying, in India, I remember the first time I went there, I would go to, because I was married to Indian gentlemen, I would be familiar with villagers, and we'd go to people's houses, they would buy a couch, beautiful couch, and they'd leave the plastic on it. They wouldn't even take the plastic off so it wouldn't get dirty, the kids ate their food on it. They kept the plastic, and what is hanging above the couch? You think a beautiful Indian miniature? No, a calendar. Calendar, just typical calendar picture box, Paryat hai. What does Paryat hai mean? That's enough. So, different cultures have very different ideas of aesthetics, especially not over the years, but over the centuries. Completely different idea. So, whereas it may disappear, that the country that is poor, when you're thinking about what you're going to eat today, you're not worried about your decor. You see, it's not your decor that's of interest. You make it practical. But talking about decor, I'll mention one thing. I've had many houses, both in India and here. And what do I finish the interior walls with? Gautam. So the last time I did it, they told me if you do it again, you'll sue me for ruining the walls. But actually, Prabhupada says that if you put gold on your wall, when there's an atomic fallout, you will not be affected by the atomic fallout. So this comes from Prabhupada. You see, so I mean, these are very, very interesting statement. So the beauty of simplicity, just like a friend of mine, recently Canadian, he's going to be spending a few months in the Mojave or whatever, Mojave Desert. He's probably online, and he's sitting in a cabin. It looks like it's maybe just like a little mud cabin. There's nothing on the wall. There's some windows, and it's 100 degrees out. There's no pollution. Very, very beautiful to see that utter simplicity. So you still see it in India, of course, utter simplicity. And yes, in the West, just like myself, I came back from living in the States almost 20 years ago, and for 20 years I've been collecting things. And when you see, yesterday I thought that we start sorting it out. It will take at least a month. You see, what we collect and what we consider valuable is astounding. And at the time of death, nothing goes with us. Nothing. Not even a ring on your finger. So, to be a little bit detached from things is really de rigueur. It doesn't mean that we don't use them. We use whatever. Most people have cars and running around, and you do what is practical. But at the same time, the attachment is actually, it's to this subject matter right here. I tell you another thing, I almost forgot about it. Somebody knocked on my door yesterday, old friend of mine. He's not a Hare Krishna devotee, he's a beekeeper, he won't be online. But when his daughter married, somehow or other he wanted some kind of Indian type of ceremony, and he wanted some Sanskrit ritual, and he sent it to me. I have background in Sanskrit. So they sent this old gentleman to me, and I helped him with the marriage and so on. And we've been friends for, I don't know, 10, 15 years, if not longer. Now somebody brings this to me. I can't imagine what it is, because it has a contemporary binding, not professional, obviously somebody printed it. It's marked throughout, and at the end, it says the name of the person who read it, and it says, finished reading June 2nd, 99, Wednesday at 3:15.